ISO FileMaker Magazine, the professional's resource for FileMaker know-how. Well, hello there, my fellow FileMaker developers and enthusiasts. This is Matt Petrowski bringing you these FileMaker tutorials over at my website, FileMakerMagazine.com. If you find anything in this video that you love, that you think learning this way is a great thing, go ahead and click the subscribe button. Also click the little bell so that you get notified when new videos are released. And if you're really interested in FileMaker development, take a look at my website, FileMakerMagazine.com. In this video, we're taking a look at a new FileMaker 16 feature. I'd like to thank Oreste Schiavone, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Known him for a long time. He's been a subscriber of the magazine. Sent me a file. There's also a couple of other people out there that have been publishing videos about this new feature, and it's basically what I'm calling floating card windows. Let's take a look. All right, so here we go with the demo. Now, the first time I saw this, I thought, wow, that's cool, but I want to make you aware of some of the things that you need to know about if you're going to use this particular technique from FileMaker 16. Now, for the wow factor, it's basically clicking this button, show card windows, and what we have is we have a number of card windows show up without their parents off to the side on my main window. Now, of course, these can be placed anywhere. You cannot move them. In fact, when I click in them and attempt to move and drag, I cannot, but they are the same window that we have right here. Now, the new card window feature is truly a window. It's just a window that you can't really move, and its original intention is to actually show within the boundaries of a parent window. But it turns out with the position values, you can position a card window off of the main parent window and anywhere that you would like. So you can see right here that I have these 3 records in my main window of Chris, Rosemary, and myself, all having spoken at DevCon. That's where I got these pictures from. But you can see that I can close these off to the side of the screen here and get rid of them. But of course, you can show any information you want in those card windows. Now, what is the trick, you ask? Well, it's simply to have the parent window show up off screen in this file, which you can actually get a hold of over at the magazine website. I'll throw it up on the resources site. Click on the magazine website at FileMakerMagazine.com, click on the resources, and I will throw that little sample demo file right there of the card windows. If we take a look at the script, what we're going to see is that it's a very simple process in order to make this happen. Now, every card window in FileMaker 16 needs to have a parent window. And truly what this comes down to is basically managing those windows and making sure that when you close the card, you close the parent as well. Because at this stage of the game, if the windows are disassociated from each other, one being completely off screen, the other one being on the completely opposite side of the screen, you really have a disconnect. Now let's take a look at the script in depth. First off, the first thing that I'm doing is setting a variable to the current window. That's the window that I'm actually within when I click the button. Second thing is that we've got a window height value here. Now, this is a little trick that I'm throwing in that is really pretty useful if you're going to use this technique to draw smaller windows off of a larger window. It turns out that what you can do is here in layout mode, we can see that the window itself is really pretty small. But as I select on this rectangle object right here, which is behind the actual picture and the fields, what I've done is I've opted, as we look at the layout objects tool in FileMaker 16, to give it a name of rect.window size. Now, the cool thing about that is you can use the getLayoutObject attribute looking at that object in order to grab either its height or its width. So what you're able to do is use the dimensions of that object as the dimensions, the target dimensions for your card window. It's sort of like being able to have a window within a window, and you're doing multiple windows, but I think you get the idea there. Now, this variable of shift right here is basically for me to be able to see the windows off screen or on screen. And there's one interesting thing about this whole technique. I'm wondering whether or not FileMaker is actually taking the time to fully render windows that it can determine are truly off screen. And I don't think that they are, and I'll show you why as we walk through this. Now, the loop, as we can see, is super simple. All it is 2 steps, new window and new window. That's it. You're basically, in this scenario, for the purposes of the demo, you would obviously loop through however many different items you want to display, whether it's related records coming from a portal or what have you. In this example file, all I'm doing is I'm going to the first of my 3 records and then I'm looping. Now, obviously, if this database had 50 records or 100 or 1,000 records, this would be a worthless exercise right here because you would not have enough screen real estate in order to render from the top of the window all the way down 1,000 different cards. And that's exactly what this does. It simply goes to the first record, creates a new window, does that off screen, then creates the new card window on screen. Then it selects the main parent window from where the button was clicked, and then it goes to the next record. And because I'm only cycling through 3, I only get 3 windows on screen. You add a few more records and you're basically going to have window chaos and windows drawing all the way down in the non-visible portion down below in the bottom area of the visible screen. And then finally, I just go back to the record. So do not follow this sequence in your own programming of FileMaker scripts. Basically, the premise is this. You need 2 steps. 1 window off screen, and then your card window is going to be on screen. Now, how do we actually do this? Well, let's take a look at the new window step. You can see that the first thing that I'm doing is I'm creating a document style window, and that's going to be off screen. How did I get it off screen? Well, I'm setting the position of the top of the window to 0, which is all the way up at the top of the visible area of the screen. But then we're using the actual dimension of the screen itself, the window desktop width, however wide the monitor is, and we're putting the window all the way off the edge of the screen. That's all the way off to the edge right here. Now you can see that I've got the shift value, and the shift value is basically going to push it off an extra few pixels or back within a few pixels. So you can modify that shift in order to actually see the windows, and we're going to do that here pretty quickly. Next, you can see that the card window itself, when we take a look at that, is basically going to determine its size based on that rect window size. That's that rectangle object that I'm using it to define the dimensions of the card window. Just a nice little trick here in order to control the size of that card window. Very precise, very easy. And next, for our position, you can see right here what we're going to need to do is I am actually doing a little bit of math magic here. I'm taking, because I'm cycling through the records, and I know I'm on record 1, then record 2, then record 3, it basically acts as an iterator in this. Well, not basically, it does. And all I'm doing is I'm shifting it by 1 to make it a 0-based item. So if my window height is actually 400, then what we're getting is 0 times 400 equals the first window starts at 0. And then the second record, which is -1, right there, we're getting that times 400, and that equals start your position at 400. And it just increments all the way up from there. So that's how I'm drawing those windows on screen using some simple math magic. And finally, we have the window position of the desktop. Now the card window. Now remember, because the parent window is drawn all the way off onto the left edge, in order to get the card window all the way onto the opposite edge for the length of the monitor, we simply have to take the window desktop width, which is what's being used to push it all the way off the edge of the screen, and simply add a minus sign in front of that so that the card window is all the way on the opposite side of the screen when it's created. Super simple. Now, one thing you always want to have is a close window so that you can close that, and let's take a look at how you actually close the window. The window itself, you'll notice that in the first window, I've given it the name of simply the primary key of that particular record. So by doing that, I know that the window name is going to be 100% completely unique. And all I'm going to do is append to it an underscore and then the word parent. When we take a look at the window name for the card window, it again is just using the ID or the primary key of the actual record. Now what that does is the card window, its window name never shows, and the parent window, which is off screen, is never visible. So we have a solution here. We have windows being drawn off screen, and then we have the card windows being drawn on screen, and we're able to position them using the object that we have within the window itself. Now here's the caveat to this whole technique. Windows can be a little bit expensive depending on how much you have on those windows. In this case, it's a super simple window. There's not a whole lot going on. But if you do have windows that have a lot of tabs with a lot of portals, with a lot of data and a lot of related things being shown, drawing those windows off screen, while FileMaker may be currently not actually rendering those windows, it used to be that there was a high cost. Now, when I say that FileMaker is not rendering those windows, let's take a look at what I'm talking about with regards to accessing these windows. It's one of the unique things that I've found about this particular technique. It's a little bit odd. So what I'm going to do in the script is I'm going to shift my value, and I'm going to put a -20 of a shift, meaning I want to be able to see the edge of those windows on screen. So I'll show my card windows, and there you go. Here is my off screen that you can see all the way to the far right-hand side, and there are my card windows that are also shifted off. Now I can select this window, and you can see that I can drag it in, and as I drag it in, did you notice that the association here changed? As I move the window there, look at that. You can see that there's a direct correlation between how these two items are tied. The card window is definitely a child of the parent, especially in terms of when you move the windows. But watch what happens when I close these windows and try it with a shift that is off. Now, one thing I should mention is that you can see that I can't close this window currently. In fact, I'm going to need to get it all the way so that I can close this window. When I close this window, notice that the parent window will go away as well. So for each child window or card window, the parent disappears as well. That's being handled with the script trigger. There's a couple of different ways you can do that. I decided to do it on the script trigger that's the on window close, but I wanted to show you really quickly the little trick or the item that I'm thinking of here, where we don't actually get those windows being rendered. And we're going to need to make a little bit of a modification. First, let's take a look at the close card window script. It's really pretty simple. As we zoom in here, you can see the note that says this is run as a script trigger tied to the on window close, meaning for every single time that you close a window, this script is going to run. And what we're doing is we're checking for the window style. If it's a window style of 3, meaning it is a card window, then we're doing this. First thing, we're setting the window name. Because the child is just the ID, we need to preserve that ID because this window is about to go away really quick, and it happens right here. So the close window, current window, is the close on the card window. So when we click to close the card window, it matches our condition. It closes that window. We had saved the window name, and all we have to do is take the window name and concatenate to it the underscore parent that we used for the original window. And there we go. Both windows are closed. Now here's the kicker. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the closing of the parent. I'm basically going to disable that script. So now when I close the window, what's going to happen is we're going to close the cards, but the parents will still be off screen. Or will they? Let's take a look. I'm going to click the Show Card Windows. All the card windows come up. In fact, under the menu, under the window menu, you will always be able to see the names of the windows themselves that are the parent windows. FileMaker will never render the names of card windows within the window menu. So right there, I'm verified that these windows exist and they are off screen, non-visible currently. These card windows, we can get their names. We can always get their names by simply going to the data viewer and simply putting in the design function of window names. If we do that, we can see all of the different child and parent. So there's the child based on the ID, there's the parent, and we have all of our matching sequences plus our original main window. So everything checks out there. Now here's the kicker. Here's the interesting thing that leads me to believe that FileMaker is no longer rendering off-screen windows. We'll close this card, and close this card, And we can see that these parent windows are still off screen somewhere. Now, typically, what we have the ability to do is use FileMaker's window options in order to tile horizontally, vertically, or cascade windows. But watch what happens when I choose this option of cascade windows. Notice that the only thing that happens is the primary window is drawn, but the other windows do not get drawn on screen. This is a lot different than if I do this particular sequence. Let's close those windows by selecting them. Close, and close, and close. So now I only have the one main window open plus my workspace. So let's go ahead and do our shift now and shift those on screen. Let's do it for my -20 in order to shift them. Save that. Let's draw my card windows. They are now on screen. I will select this one. Close and close. And now let's run that cascade. And there we go. For some reason, even when a child window is closed, FileMaker does not actually pay attention to those parent windows. I don't know if it's a bug or if something's going on, but you can see right there quite clearly there is the ID parent windows. And when I choose that window option, they do not apply. Tile horizontally, vertically, or cascade windows. And that's a lot different than when I actually have duplicate windows, which I can do a new window and a new window, and these should all cascade as they just did, or tile vertically, which they did, or tile horizontally. You get the idea. So there is something specific or unique about a window that becomes a parent to a child window where that window is no longer accounted for, even if it's visible or non-visible and off screen. Maybe a bug and something that FileMaker needs to look at. But for the most part, I think you've gotten what you need to get out of this video in terms of this particular technique. New feature of FileMaker 16. Again, the caveat being if you have really complex windows, be cautious about generating a bunch of new windows. They do have a cost associated to them, but other than that, go hog wild, use the dimensions of a rectangle in order to control the size of a card, and you will be good to go. As I mentioned at the head of this video, if you are interested in more videos about learning FileMaker, you liked what this video taught you, I create a new video each week over at my website, FileMakerMagazine.com, where I go in depth about features and techniques, things that you need to know about FileMaker. And of course, subscribe on YouTube here and click the little bell for notifications of new videos, and we will get back to you within the next video. As always, much luck and happy FileMaking. We hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial, and we'd like to say thank you for your subscription and your support. If you're not already a subscriber, head on over to www.FileMakerMagazine.com/subscribe for more information about the benefits of joining.